Welcome back, everybody. In case you can't tell, I'm like stumbling around to get ready right before the recording started. Dominic just thrusted me into the deep end here. I'm sitting there looking at the deep end of the water, and Dominic shoves me in 12 feet deep.
No life preserver.
It's the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast. It's
back.
Monday, the start of a brand new week, episode 129. There you go. Now we got to do this right off the top, Dominic. I am. It's unfortunate that I have to report to the viewers today that I am co-hosting a podcast with a psychopath.
I mean, you keep telling yourself that.
I'm looking for a new co-host. Let's put it that way. So Dominic, would you like to roll out the scene here, or do you want me to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So simply, congratulations, first off, to Thiago Santos and I think fiance, but definitely girlfriend, Yana Kunitskaya.
Mm-hmm.
They have announced that they are pregnant. They will be expecting their first child together. Shout out to Thiago Santos, who we're going to discuss on Wednesday's episode. And, of course, Yana Kunitskaya just fought last month in a tough fight against Irene Aldana. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's who it was. So shout out to them. And I just want to show everyone right now. I'm going to get my side out first because I've already introed this. Ladies and gentlemen, for anyone listening on an audio-only platform, continue to listen if you want, but then come over to YouTube because you're going to have to actually see this. So Yana posted this photograph today. We're recording this on Sunday, August 15th. She fought on Saturday, July 10th. So just barely over a month ago. And this is her picture. It's not going to look good. You guys can kind of see it. Just go look up Yana on Twitter. But you'll see there's a pretty large bump already. Therefore, meaning that she was likely in the very early stages of being pregnant already last month when she fought Irene Aldana. Wow. That's all I was telling Noah before.
I can't.
And he's going off on me. I don't know why.
I can't believe you just said that with a straight face. Like, you just told all the viewers that. Like, you just admitted what a psychopath.
I need everyone to roast Noah in the comments and let him know that if you are pregnant for 1 month, your stomach does not have a bump like that.
Okay. Well, hold on here. First off, the bump isn't that big.
It's way bigger than 1 month pregnant.
Let's see what's more likely here.
Okay.
To the viewers, what's more likely?
Painting me to be the bad guy, people.
That she has a slightly larger than usual bump for 1 month, or that am I doing this right? Or that she fought pregnant in the octagon? I want you guys to tell me what's more likely.
I'm sure there are cutoffs, Noah. Like if she had just began pregnancy within the first few weeks before that fight, I'm sure it would still be allowed.
Dominic, you're not winning this argument. Like, it's the most absurd argument I've ever heard. Let's be clear here. Dominic is claiming.
Just look at the photo. That's all.
Dominic is claiming that a fighter fought while pregnant, took body shots, everything.
She did take a lot of shots in that fight.
I'm sorry, but that just doesn't happen.
All right.
Anything else you want to say? Do you think OJ did it? Like, what else do you want to put out there?
Just congratulations, Thiago Santos, Yana Kunitskaya. That's the main storyline here.
Well, I have another thing.
Wow, we didn't even throw up a headline yet. That was our intro to the episode.
Let me also put something else out there. Yes, as you can tell, if you're watching this on YouTube, yes, I am wearing the same shirt from Friday's episode, but I have a reason for that. I'm not just some stinky boy that wears the same clothes every day, all right? But people,
let them know.
It's the first time that I'm living in an apartment that requires coins in order to do my laundry.
Oh.
And, you don't realize, like, how much I'm kind of in my own generation. I don't carry cash. I literally pay everything on a card. And because of that, you don't really realize how much of an inconvenience that can be until you need coins. Because not only do I not have coins, I don't have cash to get
coins. Yes, so it's a much longer process.
And we're recording on Sunday when I was going to do laundry,
and the bank's closed.
The bank's closed.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much just shit out of luck. So I was like, well, gave a little
He's making sure, checking the boxes. Yeah.
A little sniff test, and I was like, you know what? I think we can do it.
So Wednesday, basically Noah's saying expect a different shirt. That's what he's saying.
Exactly. But yeah, that's I guess that's pretty much it for the intro. Let's get into some fight announcements.
That was wow. We've had a lot of episodes, and I'll tell you what, that was one of those crazier intros we've had.
Comment below or leave a voice message and let us know what's more likely, that Yana Kunitskaya is more than 1 month pregnant, or that God, I keep doing this wrong. Comment below.
More than 1 month pregnant.
No. Comment below.
What's more likely?
They know. I want the viewers to let us know what's more likely, that she fought while pregnant, or that she has a slightly larger bump for a 1 month pregnant. Whatever. Let us know your thoughts.
We know a lot about pregnancy.
Not a dad, just to be clear. So this is not our wheelhouse, but apparently Dominic's an expert all of a sudden. Whatever. I guess he's an OBGYN. You know how it goes.
We got a fight announcement. We have one fight announcement.
Yeah, and it comes from Bellator, which Bellator had a big weekend last weekend. So. A lot of them in this episode, but it starts with Yoel Romero has been cleared to return to action, and he's going to do so on September 18th at Bellator 266 in a headliner with Phil Davis. A very interesting bout here, because Phil Davis, maybe some newer fans might not remember, but he is a UFC veteran. Guy was really a perennial top 5, top 6, top 7 light heavyweight during his time in the UFC. And in Bellator, he's sort of been the same. I don't believe he's held a title in Bellator. He's still kind of just been a perennial top guy, not quite able to get the win necessary to push him into a title fight or anything like that, but a very competitive fighter. And we know Yoel Romero, one of the all-time UFC fighters that never won a belt as a middleweight, since signed with Bellator, supposed to make his debut in the light heavyweight Grand Prix. Then he wasn't able to get medically cleared. There was a lot of speculation. Nothing really came out until now. It's just he's good to go, and now this fight's taking place. Dominic, what do you expect here from these two? And is there any expectations we should have for maybe? Does Yoel Romero have the longevity to? Is this maybe a one and done for Romero? Like, we don't know really what the health issues were to begin with, and how bad they might be, to the point where is this going to be like every fight he might be battling doctors to get cleared here?
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what he looks like at 205 without a weight cut, because we know that in the UFC at middleweight, he had his fair share of run-ins with some weight cut issues and title fights and non-title fights. So that's what I'm most intrigued for at first. His physique, how he performs at 205 with essentially probably not much of a weight cut. I'm sure he's still losing a few pounds because he's a big guy, but still. And then the matchup itself against Phil Davis, I think that is still a perfect welcome to this top tier of the light heavyweight division. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, because it kind of started a while ago. Phil Davis was in the Grand Prix, right, and got eliminated? Or did he welcome Corey Anderson?
Phil Davis, no, he didn't welcome. He was in the Grand Prix. He lost to, I believe it was Ryan Bader.
Okay. So a guy that was in the Grand Prix, he's been around the top of the division here, never, as the champion or anything, kind of the same when he was in the UFC. So I think it's a good welcome for Yoel Romero. I was about to say for the UFC. So I'm very excited. Hopefully it stays together. Hopefully everything's good on Yoel's end from a health perspective. And I'm excited they're going to get a 5-round main event slot too. And it's only a few weeks away. So all signs are pointing toward a great showcase for really each man. But a lot of people are excited to see Yoel, myself and you included.
I want to offer a correction about
Phil Davis.
About Phil Davis. He lost to Vadim Nemkov.
Okay, the
in
current
Grand.
champion.
So he did fight for the light heavyweight title,
Yeah.
and he is a former Bellator light heavyweight champion. He actually won the belt from Liam McGeary, which was the it wasn't a Grand Prix or anything. Won the belt. That was November 2016.
Mm-hmm.
In his very next bout, he would lose the belt to Ryan Bader via split decision.
Okay.
Ultimately lost another split decision later to Vadim Nemkov, not for a belt. So him and Nemkov fought twice. That's why it was billed, it was their second fight. But regardless, he has a win over Lyoto Machida in Bellator, Linton Vassell, another good guy, Muhammad Lawal. And then UFC, he had wins over Lyoto Machida again, Glover Teixeira, Nogueira, Tim Bosch, Gustafson.
He's got that's a great resume.
Yeah, I mean, he really is like one of those underappreciated guys, and some of that is probably because his style was never very fan friendly, a bit grapple heavy, a bit more of a control top position fighter. But you got to respect the athleticism that guy has. He's quite the freak athlete when he puts it all together. But he's going up against the genetic freak.
Yeah, that's
I'm about to start using words that they used to describe Scott Steiner with back in the day with Yoel Romero. Freakzilla.
He is single-handedly defeated Father Time, Yoel Romero has.
Yeah, and I'm very excited just to see how Yoel Romero looks here, because at this point, I don't know what kind of Yoel Romero I'm getting here. Even the promotional picture. Did you notice the picture that they put together, like almost like a poster type deal?
The image was a bit odd.
Yoel didn't look great in it, and I don't know if that's just
Hopefully, it's the pose.
Right, but I mean, even the whole thing that everybody assumed was the issue was his eye, because Israel Adesanya had those really cryptic post-fight thoughts about how the left side of his body just didn't seem to react the same, or I don't know how it was worded, but in the picture, one of Yoel's left eye is like more shut than his right one. Mm-hmm. Very odd. So again, I'm very curious to see what we see from Yoel here. The last time we saw him was in that title fight against Israel Adesanya, which is kind of crazy. Kind of assumed he had fought since then.
That's true.
And that was a very disappointing performance. So hopefully he comes out here and looks to really make a statement. Why I pose that question, though, is because, again, if he comes in here and wins, is there a chance that he's just going to have to retire? Because is these medical issues that he's dealing with, are we going to – I mean, not being medically cleared for an MMA bout is not that's not the most reassuring thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that means you've got some pretty serious health issues.
I mean, that doesn't happen all the time, So for him to go through that, it just makes me wonder, like, is this going to always be an issue? Hopefully not. Hopefully he'll have this fight, and then he'll continue to have maybe big fights with some of the other big top light heavyweights in Bellator. And that's the other factor here. He is not cutting weight for the first time seemingly forever.
Long time, yeah.
And he really struggled with getting down to middleweight. So I actually expect him to be probably more explosive at light heavyweight.
I want to see how his power is, too.
I wouldn't say faster, but just I think his speed won't – I think for what he'll make up for in power will be greater than what he'll lose in his speed. So I look forward to seeing how he looks.
Absolutely.
And that's all for our fight announcements, and we're going to kick it straight to Bellator 264.
Yes.
Yep. Headlined by Gegard Mousasi, who put on a hell of a performance with the TKO win over John Stalter. Round 3, 2 minutes, 7 seconds in. Headline as it reads, Mousasi shows no sign of slowing down. 36 years old.
Mm-hmm.
A very impressive win here over a guy in Stalter, who came out the gate and really tried to bring it to him.
Yeah,
really
looked good in round 1.
Stalter shot a lot. Really tried to get the fight to his wheelhouse, as we thought he should do.
Yep.
But then it just appeared that Mousasi was just a level above, and once Mousasi made those adjustments, it was pretty clear that he was just a better fighter overall. And I'll let you give your thoughts, but I also want to pose a question to you here. It seems pretty obvious. Austin Vanderford will be next. What do you think of that matchup? And where does Gegard Mousasi stack up if you get rid of promotions in terms of just worldwide middleweights?
Yeah. Well, the performance itself overcame early adversity, as we mentioned in round one. It was really all John Stalter in the first round. Mm-hmm. But then Mousasi, being the veteran that he is, I mean, he's now 48-7, which is just insane as his professional record. Yeah. Bounces back in the second round and then gets the finish ultimately in the third. Looked great, stayed composed the whole time, made the right adjustments, as Noah mentioned. He looked incredible, a great title defense there. Him versus Austin Vanderford is the rightful next fight. They had him get into the cage together, kind of do a face-off, which is cool. Mm-hmm. You don't really see that ever in the UFC like they used to do back in the day, but Bellator does it quite a bit still. So
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why the UFC doesn't do it. The last time they did was Brock Lesnar, and he nearly broke Joe Rogan's hand. It
was a WWE like skit, is what it looked like. But for Vanderford, the undefeated phenom, he's a phenomenal wrestler, a great grappler, much more, I think, well-rounded on the ground than what John Stalter was. So I feel he will come out with kind of a similar game plan, but be a much stronger presence than what Stalter presented. So I think it is a tough fight, and it's obviously the biggest fight of Austin Vanderford's life as well. And last but not least, in terms of middleweights across the board right now, across these great promotions organizations, Gegard Mousasi, he's still right up there at the top. I mean, I look at middleweight specifically. We have a big middleweight headliner that we're going to talk about Friday with Jared Cannonier and Kelvin Gastelum. You've got Robert Whittaker. You've got Israel Adesanya. But, man, the way Gegard looks, and he's, 6-1 now in Bellator. He's their champion. He was a Strikeforce champion. He was incredible in the UFC. For goodness sakes, when he got cut from the UFC and came to Bellator, he was on a 4-fight win streak when he chose to sign with Bellator, which is crazy. So I think he is 100% still within, if I got to give a ballpark number, he's a top 8, if not top 5 middleweight in the world right now still, regardless of promotion. Incredible performance, and I can't wait to see him versus Vanderford. I think that's going to be an awesome fight.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, or the words that I typed out to you yesterday. I do look at Gegard Mousasi as still a top 5. And it's hard to – I mean, that's a big – it's a big statement when you really think about it, because middleweight division in the UFC is very competitive. It's very good at the top. But I look at it like Israel Adesanya, level above, and then I would even say Robert Whittaker, probably a level above the rest.
But then after that,
I really think he falls in line with the Jared Cannoniers, with the Paulo Costas, the
Vittori's,
Hermanson, even Gastelum, guys like that. I really think he's very competitive in that group. Darren Till, another one. It's unproven. You don't really know. But when he left the UFC, he was deserving of a title shot, even though I don't know how close he was to getting it. But he was, like you said, 4-fight winning streak. I believe was his last loss. It's not going to be that one. But, I mean, he's a guy that had a really freak loss to Uriah Hall where he –
the flying knee or something nasty.
I don't think that was the last loss he had. That was a while back. But, he comes back and rematches Uriah Hall again. Yeah. So he's still just showing me a lot here, even at 36 years old. Mm-hmm. To his it seemed like everybody recognized how big he is for this division. So, like, when he was beaten up on Lima in the last fight, a lot of that in people's eyes was, Mousasi's just so much bigger, which is true, but I think Mousasi is just that damn good, too.
Yes.
And here against Stalter, who is a very specialized talent, arguably had the most elite skill in the octagon. I don't know, but Mousasi's kickboxing. But I mean, his ability in his submissions is very, very good. Yeah. And despite some early adversity, because Stalter was very aggressive out the gate, Mousasi did what champions do, like Kamaru Usman you saw against Gilbert Burns, things like that. They make those mid-fight adjustments, and then as soon as they adjust, and if John Salter's not adjusting at that same
turn it on, man.
Then the scales flip or whatever. So very impressed there. Really looking forward to him versus Vanderford. I'm very curious to see how Vanderford holds up in that fight because it's a huge step up for him. Not that he hasn't earned his title shot, just it's the same story to me in some ways that we had with this fight, where Mousasi will be 48-7 going into that fight.
Yeah.
He'll be looking for his third defense of the Bellator Middleweight Championship, while Vanderford is got not near that amount of experience, and this will be the by far biggest fight of his career.
Yep.
So some guys will shine under those bright lights and some won't. And I'll just be curious to see how Vanderford holds up, because Bellator could have something there with Austin Vanderford if he's able to, make do, not just because of his relationship with Paige Van Zandt, but that doesn't hurt. Just he definitely has the look, the skill set, the youth of
and he's
a potential star for Bellator.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that have essentially started super early in his career with Bellator, and they've molded him like an AJ McKee, even like a Pitbull. So he's another one of those guys, undefeated. It's going to be a good fight.
Let's move into the feature bout of Bellator 264. This one probably surprised a lot of people as Raufeon Stots gets the win over Magomedov via unanimous decision. This fight, man, it really just – they put the pace on one another.
It was exhausting to watch.
And, it's kind of what I expected. Two guys that are very capable and used to going the full distance, and they were trying to use that as like a weapon in itself on one another, and instead you just got almost like a race to the finish in a way.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with both guys. I put young bantamweights here because they're still so young that they're like prospects, but they're contenders.
Yeah, exactly.
So Raufeon Stots just might have cashed in his ticket to get a title shot with Sergio Pettis.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think he deserves it. He was
training partners too.
Which actually that was interesting, and we'll talk about that. But I just want to give him his due, because I think a lot of people here were counting him out because we know Magomedov, where he comes from, not and just how good he is, but that Russian heritage that has been so dominant recently in the UFC and other promotions. I think most people completely counted out Stots in this fight. I don't know if the odds really said that. I don't know what the betting lines were like, and obviously these guys were neck and neck in the rankings. So for a lot of hardcore Bellator fans, maybe you kind of knew this fight was very close. But I think for a lot of people, they would just assume Magomedov was going to shine here, and Stots ends up being the one that really put together the complete performance here.
Yep.
So give me your thoughts on this fight. I thought it was a lot of fun, but also the question here, because as you just mentioned, Stots and the Bellator bantamweight champion, Sergio Pettis, are teammates. Post-fight, Stots did not seem super keen on the idea of fighting his teammate, but rather seemed more interested on the idea of doing a bantamweight Grand Prix and joining through that and getting like $1 million type deal.
Yeah.
So where do you think Stots goes from here? Do you think he does kind of end up fighting Sergio, or do you think do we even know for sure if there will be a bantamweight Grand Prix? Like a lot of questions here. Or does Stots kind of get passed up for someone more willing to fight right away?
So the fight itself, as we kind of mentioned when we introed this fight, was super exhausting. The pace both guys set was insane. And it goes to show, like, when two guys come to grapple, it can be just as entertaining as two guys that come to bang it out on the feet. And not that these guys didn't strike as well, but it was just so much technique in all areas of this fight. And, of course, Magomed's game plan, as we know, is to come out and grapple. And I said on Friday that I thought it was going to be very hard for Stots to get a decision victory over a guy with a style like Magomedov. But boy, was I wrong, because he comes out and gets a clean sweep, a 30-27, at least on two judges' scorecards, if not all three. And he really shut down all of the offensive grappling that Magomed wanted. He had great defensive techniques. He was able to get out of submissions, transition into top position. He would get submission attempts against Magomed. It was very fast, as I said, very technical, and it was a pleasure to watch. Stots really put on an incredible performance. For Magomed, too, I just want to mention he'll be back. I don't doubt that at all. He will be fighting for a championship in his career. But for Raufeon Stots, after a performance like that, I'd love to see him go right into that title fight with Pettis. I know it probably sucks when they're training partners. They're fighting out of Rufus Sport there. But I think it's an incredible fight. Sergio paid his dues through the UFC. Stots has paid his dues now in Bellator. I mean, the only loss on his record was against Merab Dvalishvili years ago, and now he's been on a tear in Bellator. So I think it is the fight to make rather than trying to go through a Grand Prix. And I like the sentiment of how he was like, oh, I'll just fight Magomed again. I'll beat him again. I'll run through the whole division. I'll prove I'm the best bantamweight in the world, and even went on to say he already feels he is the best bantamweight in the world. So as much as I respect it, I think you go straight into that title fight. I think it's a great fight between him and Pettis. And then maybe you could even do like the former champ Juan Archuleta against Magomedov, something like that. I think would be super fun. So, yes, I'm not opposed to a Grand Prix because they are fun, but I'd say straight into the title fight with Sergio is what I would pick.
Yeah, I respect that sentiment. I just don't think that's what's going to end up happening. Based on the post-fight comments, it did not seem at all to me like there was any room for a fight there, at least unless Grand Prix and then, they meet in the finals or something or semifinals. But based on that, I really think, unfortunately, Stots could end up getting passed over here for either maybe a rematch with Archuleta or maybe one of these other contenders. Maybe he ends up doing another fight with Magomedov. I don't see that. I could see Stots getting a fight with Archuleta or something like that. I don't see the title fight that should happen here being the one that ends up happening, at least not right away, which is kind of what we want to see. Because Pettis should be ready to fight here in a few months, and Stots, I don't think, suffered too many injuries here, so he should be good to go. But you probably won't get the introduction of a Grand Prix for at least, 6, 7, 8 months from now.
Yeah.
And if Stots and Pettis can't come to terms on, fighting one another, I think Bellator might end up having to push over him and kind of just get someone in there. Yeah. And I think if you see this fight, it's just not going to be as soon as people want it, based on this was kind of the crowning of a number one contender. And the guy you crowned kind of said, I didn't want it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like to me. But any final thoughts on that?
Mm-mm.
All right, let's move into the PFL as week one of their playoffs took place. And I said I wanted it to go smoothly for them, and I would say for the most part it did, but we'll get into all of that. So I think here we're not going to go fight by fight necessarily. I think we're just going to give kind of what our thoughts were overall, anything that stuck out to us.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna let you start here. What performances stuck out to you? What moments here stuck out to you? Were there any fights in particular that you really enjoyed, or I'll go ahead and throw in found controversial? And go ahead and just give me your thoughts of week one here.
So I'll do three things. Best performance, Ray Cooper III absolutely dominated Rory MacDonald for 3 full rounds, earned his way into the welterweight finals matchup. He looked incredible, utilized a perfect game plan to go against everything Rory can throw at him, grappled, and just was so much stronger. He really looked great, and it's going to be his 3rd straight finals that he's been in for the Grand Prix. But he's not won it yet, so I'll be curious to see if Ray Cooper can finally reach the top of that mountain. The best fight, Luik Radzhabov and Alexander Martinez, that was an absolute war for 3 straight rounds. I really enjoyed watching that one, especially with the PFL's very unique broadcast style and all of the unique technological features they do. It was just really neat, and the fight was just an absolute war. And then last but not least, there was a bit of controversy. Unfortunately, as great as these PFL cards have been, there have been little notches of controversy, and it sucks even worse in the PFL because one wrong judge's decision could keep you out of your chance of winning $1 million. And unfortunately, that is what happened with Clay Collard here as he loses a decision to Raush Manfio. And it was a fight that I thought was as clear a 2-1 as you could have. And you could argue he even won 3-0. Round 3 was really close. I scored it for Manfio. I digress. It was a clear 2-1 to me. The judges saw it otherwise. And now Clay Collard, who has a great story, was fighting for his late brother. And it was looking so good. Crisp boxing. He's always in fun fights. Loses here in a very controversial way. And now his chance at $1 million, life-changing moments and money, is down the drain. So you just hate to see it, man. My hat's off still to Manfio for doing a hard-fought battle. But if you're Clay Collard, that's just heartbreaking to see as a fan. And if you're him, I can't even imagine. So I'm curious to see your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I'll start with that fight since that's kind of what we're segueing here. And, yeah, it's unfortunate because the model for the PFL makes it worse when these screwy decisions happen. I'm arguably worse, I guess. I mean, the show money and stuff for PFL is not going to be a lot compared to the other big promotions. I would say ultimately you're fighting for a chance to get that $1 million prize.
Yeah,
but here you're right. Clear as a 2-1 decision as you can get, and I was pretty shocked when Manfio got his hand raised.
Yeah,
as it seemed Collard and a lot of other people were too. This has been kind of the one thing that's plagued this PFL season for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reality of all promotions. But again, I think it sticks out to me more in the PFL because of the way the setup and whatnot. Fabricio Verdum being a big signing and his debut gets completely botched due to a poor referee. That was more of a referee's end.
Yeah.
But then you had the Rory MacDonald Gleison Tebow decision that I thought was egregious. That one I still thought was worse. But this one, Clay Collard, he had a great story going in here, which shouldn't affect judges' scorecards, but it makes it even worse when you feel he gets screwed over, considering what he was fighting for and how good he looked, and he doesn't really get the benefit of that. So no doubt in my mind Collard will be back and potentially could have bigger opportunities ahead. Manfio will be going up against Loic Radzivov, correct?
Yes.
And that should be a dogfight, in my opinion, so that'll be fun. But then I'm going to actually talk about Magomed Karimov because I already told you guys. I told you guys Ray Cooper III, don't sleep on him. And he came in here and put a beating on Rory MacDonald that even I didn't expect. I thought these two would go to war.
Yeah.
Instead, Cooper kind of put the beat down on Rory. And because of that, he's going to be pretty fresh, in my opinion, going in to the finals. And let's be honest here.
And he'll need it.
Because Magomed Karimov is a dangerous man, and he looked fantastic against Sabadou Sai here.
Yeah.
Now, this was Sai was the kind of the odd man out, if you will, not supposed to be, wouldn't normally have been a guy in the playoffs, but due to number 1 seed not being able to compete, he gets brought in as the number 5. Is that correct, Dom?
It was that whole Gleison Tebow situation that you and I talked about. It's all kind of weird.
Very odd.
Yeah.
But because of that, he gets to step in here. But Magomed Karimov is very impressive. I'm very much excited to see this fight with him and Ray Cooper. Man, I didn't know that. Ray Cooper, third straight finals for the PFL, but he's looking for his first victory.
Yep.
That makes me want to root for him. But man, Magomed Karimov is a grinder. And, Cooper showed a little bit of that in his fight too, so we could be in for quite the dogfight in the finals. But those two were the ones that were the most impressive. So I think this welterweight finals is stacking up to be a classic, and that's what I'm excited for. While the lightweight finals is a bit of a whimper going in here, even though Radzivov did have an awesome fight. So
that fight was great.
Just want to give him credit there. Let's move into the preview.
We're making history on the show again.
So first time we're doing this on the show. This is because the week 2 of the PFL playoffs will be airing on Thursday, which we record on Thursdays and release those previews on Friday. So the timing's not going to work out this week for us to wait till Friday to talk about PFL. So instead, we're going to talk about week 2 here. And there's one big reason for that, isn't there?
Our girl.
That's because Kayla Harrison, our best friend, our neighbor, she's back. And she's the number 2 seed here, which is kind of funny. Going up against Jenna Fabian. And then you got the heavyweight semifinals are taking place as well on this card. So once again, I think we're just going to kind of walk through here and just whatever sticks out to us. And to me, the story for week 2 is you got 2 dominant players that, in my opinion, if they don't win their entire tournament year, then it's a disappointment for them. And that's Kayla Harrison for the women's lightweights, of course, and Bruno Capoloza for the heavyweights. A lot of people are going to be maybe unaware of Bruno here in the he's not necessarily been high placement on a lot of these cards, but the guy has been racking up great performances and even had like a 20-piece combo in one of his fights that kind of went viral. It was fucking insane. So in my opinion, these 2 are the clear number 1s in their respective divisions, and anything less than a victory here and ultimately a victory in the finals is going to have to be a disappointment for both of them. Probably more so for Kayla, just because how much credit she's been given. But in my opinion, Bruno Capoloza has shown to be a level above the rest of the heavyweights. So those are very short, clear-cut thoughts for me. What say you, Dom?
Yeah, so for Bruno specifically, I'm actually glad you mentioned him. The guy is on, is just tears through competition, I should say. His record is only 12-5, but all 12 of those wins are via knockout, Noah. He loves to come in and bang. He mentioned the incredible 20-piece combo. I couldn't even keep up with it when I was watching it live. So I think that's going to be a very fun fight. Of course, our neighborhood friend, Kayla Harrison, coming in to not only try and win her second or get to her second final position to become the PFL champion, win the tournament, the $1 million, but keep that perfect record intact. And she just seems this year to just have this chip on her shoulder of wanting to prove that I can't help the organization I'm in right now and what the competition they're giving me. So whoever they give me, I'm just going to absolutely crush and dominate. And I'm going to let you know I feel I'm the best fighter in the world. So I really like that. Although she's so far ahead, right, in the PFL anyways, and she's undefeated, the 2-time Olympic gold medalist, all the accolades, a former champion in PFL, and she just seems as hungry as ever to just prove doubters wrong, as if there are any doubters. I don't know.
Well, I think a part of that has got to be for Kayla that coming in here, she recognizes that each fight she's going in here is an opportunity to put on a showcase for potential future employers like the UFC, like Bellator.
For sure.
So that would be what I would say, but continue.
Yeah, so of course that's obviously a huge storyline. And then to bounce directly off that, the other women's lightweight semifinal, we see the number 1 seed in Larissa Procchio. The only 2 times she's lost in the PFL was to Kayla Harrison, one of which being in the 2019 finals to win the belt and the championship. And she absolutely tears through people. She's been a dominant force this year in their tournaments. She's finished 14 out of her 15 wins. And so I think she's going to, of course, look to come in, not only get another dominant performance, but the storyline here for Larissa is, okay, this time, if I get Kayla again, I'm going to shock the world, and I'm going to beat her. And I feel like that's kind of the story that you can build off of her if you're the PFL. And she showed no reason to slow down. She could easily come in here and steamroll her opponent, Taylor Guadardo. She's only got 3 professional fights in Taylor, so definitely a tough matchup for her. However, she is 2-0 in the PFL, so I know that'll fly more under the radar than Kayla, but I just had to mention that there is a storyline should those 2 find each other matched up in the finals again for the women's lightweight title.
Is that how you pronounce Larissa's last name? Or were you just taking a guess? Because I think it's
Pacheco.
I think it's Pacheco.
Pacheco. I'm sorry, however, I butchered
it. No,
it.
it's. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't. I could be wrong, but I like the sound of Pacheco.
Yes.
So I think it's so weird because everybody's excited for the final to potentially be Kayla versus Larissa Pacheco.
Yeah.
But Kayla's already proven multiple times
Twice,
previous
yeah.
that she's been better. And I fully respect that, should not count her out because
Yeah.
imagine, I mean, it's hard to beat someone 3 times in a row. They always say that in football. Remember? They
Yeah.
always say it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. And I think a lot of that applies here because Kayla, yes, I know she is a level above, but you learn a lot from your losses. Arguably, you learn more from your losses than your wins.
And
And
Larissa looks like she's getting better.
yes, she does. She's the number 1 seed here. She's
Yeah.
seeded over Kayla Harrison. Now I know that's
They literally
more.
competed on who could finish people quicker.
Yeah, that's essentially what we're working with here. So I am excited to see that fight run back a third time if it happens, but both still have to get through their semifinal matchup here. If that fight does end up happening a third time, would I expect Pacheco to win? No. But could she maybe put on some sort of performance that maybe makes people believe she can? Yeah, I think she can do that. It'd be interesting to see Kayla face adversity for the first time prior to her potentially going off to one of these big promotions.
Yeah, well, in terms of her matchup specifically this week with Jenna Fabian, Jenna's obviously like 5'11", 6 foot tall, so very large in terms of height, long arms, long legs, and she's a phenomenal striker. But we know that Kayla's such a great grappler. Do you see a potential route where Jenna could maybe pull off the upset, or is Kayla's wrestling obviously just going to be so?
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop you there. No, I'm just kidding. I get what you're doing. No, I'm just being honest. Like I just don't. But this is where it gets dangerous because once someone feels as unbeatable as Kayla does in the PFL, that's when she'll lose. That's been the story time and time again for these dominant fighters. For me, I think the key here, though, for why I don't think that'll happen in this fight with Kayla is what you mentioned earlier. Even though it's like she's so dominant in this promotion, doesn't appear to have anybody on the same level as her, yet she always comes in with the chip on her shoulder.
Yeah.
And like I was trying to explain was that I think a lot of that comes from she's looking at these fights like it's a showcase to my next suitor.
Yeah.
UFC, Bellator, ONE FC, whoever. They're all watching, so it's like it's time for me to put on a showcase.
Show them that she's ready.
Yeah, and you don't want to count out these opponents because if they put a good shot on you or something, hurt you, rock you, then people are going to be even. If Kayla so much as got rocked or got a round taken from her, I think it would be a lot of like, remember how we felt real weird when Valentina Shevchenko lost a round to Jennifer Maia? That's what I think. It would be that, but probably even more. People would be like, oh, she's not ready for the top level competition. She's just beating cans. People say that.
Right.
So she does have a lot of pressure when she goes in there, but I think there's been an increased focus from her management and her on getting that promotion out there. She's been more talkative after fights, doing a lot of promos.
Yeah, that's damn sure. She can cut a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
She's very much really trying to fill that mold of the superstar that she shows that she can be in the cage, and now she's trying to even talk a little bit outside of it. So I do expect similar things here as more eyes will be on the playoffs, and hopefully, I don't want to say hopefully because at the end of the day, whoever wins, but all respect to all 4 ladies here, but I just think Kayla Harrison's going to do what she does best, and that's going to be run through the competition.
Yeah, and of course, before we finish the week 2 preview, I just want to give a shout out to the other 2 heavyweight semifinalists. Just give them a little shine. So the number 2 seed, Dennis Goldstav, is going up against the number 3 seed, Ante Delije. Both guys that are humongous people, by the way. Both are 6'5". Both finish fights on the ground and on the feet. I know this is definitely going to be the fight that just, of the 4 semifinals that will not get talked about enough. I just think it does have potential to be a very firework-filled bout just because they both come out and bang. So shout out to the other 2 heavyweights as well.
Wow, how nice of you to give everybody their shine.
Yeah.
That's going to wrap it up here for the preview portion of our MMA Weekend Recap. What say you? Give us your thoughts. Give us your predictions for PFL Week 2 playoffs. Let us know who you think is going to win, and we will potentially roast your ass if you're wrong on Friday's episode.
Yes.
So let us know that. This week is a 3-episode week, so you'll be getting this episode on Monday, obviously, then Wednesday.
Fun one.
Yeah, this one's fun. Since we did have our year anniversary last Tuesday, we decided that it was time to go back to one of our favorite episodes that we did very early on, an episode maybe most of you don't even know at this point. One of our very first, I think it was our second special episode, it was in August. It was around this time.
Yeah.
And we were looking a year ahead and predicting who each champion would be in each division.
Yep.
So we're going to go back and look at who we picked. We've already put those lists together, and I can tell you it's going to be pretty funny going over it. So we'll do that, and then we'll make our predictions for a year from now. I do think we'll talk about this probably off camera, but I do think we could maybe even include like a dark horse for each division this year, just because I think we're realizing that not as many champions fall off year to year. I think that was maybe the big takeaway for me from last year, is that there wasn't as many title changes as you would assume, I guess, if you just don't think about it as much as I have.
Right.
But that's coming Wednesday. Friday, another weekend preview. Cannoneer Gastelum, going to be a fun one.
And some Bellator action
and
again.
Some Bellator, yeah. So, hey, keep them coming, guys.
I love it. We got fights Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I love it, baby.
I need ONE FC to come back on TNT, and then we're going to be living good.
Yes,
but
sir.
Until then, Dominic, tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
Find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at dslee14. More importantly, go follow, interact, engage with the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, at BAJ. Never, ever forget the _MMA podcast.
Yeah, go to BAJ. Never, ever, ever.
Okay, that's actually not the at, but you get it.
For me, Twitter, Instagram, at NT Baker. Never, ever, ever forget the _. But that is, again, at NT Baker _ on Twitter and Instagram. There's a link in my bio to take you to our link tree, which gives you the links. I need to find a smoother way to do that. That's too many links in a row.
Link of links.
Yeah, there's a link that leads you to links for the links.
They're all really good links.
Yeah, and all those links do showcase all of the platforms our podcast is on. So the YouTube channel links on there, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts for audio versions. And there's a couple links for our Anchor page. Shout out to Anchor, sponsor of today's episode. And the link's on there for leaving a voice message, like I mentioned earlier. And if you want to become a supporter of the podcast and just donate a small little, hey, can I get $1.25? That's what I want. Someone get on there and donate.
Option.
Donate
$1.99.
Hey, that's fine. I just need to do a load of laundry, people.
Yeah, someone donate just so Noah can do his damn laundry.
But appreciate all the support, everyone. 1 year plus at this point, going strong. Dominic, I love you.
I love you too.
That's it. That's it. We're out. And we'll see y'all on Wednesday.
And we love you all too.